What's going on, everyone? Genji Gear here, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about D&D and Baldur's Gate 3. I played Baldur's Gate 3 when it came out, and I liked it a whole lot. I can't say I was very good at it. Honestly, it was pretty hard, and I always felt like I just didn't quite understand all of the mechanics. And it turns out I was right. I totally didn't understand what was going on in that game. I thought I'd pick it up because I've played like hundreds of RPGs in my life, but there's just some things that are unique to Dungeons and Dragons that are just maybe not as intuitive. So in this video, I'm just gonna go over a few of those. So if maybe you're trying to play Baldur's Gate 3 for the first time, it's possible. Maybe these are just some things that you can learn so that you have a better time while you're playing Baldur's Gate 3. And the other half of you probably have played both and are just interested to see maybe what a new player's experience has been from playing Baldur's Gate 3, playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then going back to Baldur's Gate 3 and seeing just where those missing gaps were. And I would say the first one, the biggest one for me that totally changed how I saw the game was just AC, armor class. So for me, traditionally, I thought armor class was just going to be basically the amount of protection that you get. So say you get hit with an attack and you have a high armor class, it's going to reduce some of that damage. That's just wrong. This is not how it works. For those of you that don't know, armor class is a number, usually it's between 1 and 20, and it's usually not 1, it usually starts out around maybe like 8 or 9, and that's like cloth armor, and then it goes all the way to like plate mail. You know, you get leather armor, medium armor, and plate mail, and that'll be like AC 12, 14, 16, you know, and then you can do spells that increase your AC as well. And what that number represents is the number that somebody has to roll in order to even hit you at all. It doesn't really matter if you have a high armor class and you still get hit. It doesn't reduce any of that damage. Armor class just basically makes it harder for you to be hit. You know, in Dungeons and Dragons when you're playing, you know, the DM can say like, oh, you know, you blocked it with your shield or something. But how it happens in Baldur's Gate 3 is they just miss you. And knowing this made me just totally see the game in a different way. I started, you know, deciding who my tank was, and for the part of the game that I was in, Shadowheart had a pretty high AC. I think it was around 16 because I got some really good armor for her, and then she had a spell that like pumped it up by like 3 or something, so she had like a 19 AC, which is just really high, really great. And I started using her as my tank, and that really just started putting the pieces together. I started, you know, using some illusion thing where there'd be like copies of her, and then she'd boost her armor class, I think actually by like 4, like she'd be at like 20, and then I'd put her in the middle of the battle and people would just be trying to hit her and they'd be missing left and right. And then my other characters were able to start doing their abilities more freely because they weren't just being attacked. And that's also when I realized, you know, like my character, like Karlach, part of me thought she was the barbarian, that she would be tanky, and she kind of is, but she's also kind of not. She has cloth armor, and there's ways that she probably could be tanky, but I realized for her, I really need to play her more like a DPS character. Like she's doing a lot of damage and she runs around really quickly. And just because she's a big melee character doesn't necessarily mean that she's a tank. So this just totally changed my perspective on the game completely, and I started playing just a lot better. I started to understand the mechanics more. And the next thing that I think was huge for me was advantage and disadvantage. I think that was the same kind of mistake I was having, where I thought that there was just maybe a little bit higher percentage chance to hit somebody, or there was a higher amount of damage you would do if you have advantage versus disadvantage. And the first part of that's actually kind of correct. It's advantage gives you the ability to roll 2 dice and then choose the higher of the 2. So say you're trying to hit somebody, their AC is 16, and you're rolling, and you have like a +4 or whatever. So like you roll a 14 and you roll like an 8, right? So that 14 plus 4 would be like 18, and you would hit that person. But if you only had that 8 roll, you know, +4, 12, you'd miss, right? So I didn't realize like how significant that was. I thought it was just maybe like a little bit of a boost on top of whatever you get, but I didn't realize that you roll 2 different dice and you choose the higher one. So it's not just like a small boost, it's like you could totally miss or you can totally hit, and it's like that's just a huge thing. And it's the same thing with disadvantage. It's like, even though technically I think like it's really just a percentage more likely that you'd hit, it's not something as simple as just like a 10% boost or something. It's like it could be like a 60% difference between the dice. That can just be totally massive. Being able to roll 2 dice or having your opponent roll 2 dice, especially when you have a really high AC. I guess I'm not amazing at math, but I just know intuitively that that's like a huge, like really helpful thing. And that in a lot of ways, I think that's better than just like a 10% boost here or there, right? Another thing is just synergy. After I've learned all of these things, I started to realize just what stats I wanted on what characters, and I saw character creation in just a totally different way. And when you get to level 8, your characters get feats, which maybe you have them before, I think, but you get them, like, you get more feats at level 8, and that's when, like, you can start to be really strong. You start to be able to give your characters like 2 advantage rolls basically on like your attack damage. So you can get advantage on if you hit them, and you can get advantage on the amount of damage that you do. So you can just start significantly hitting people more and doing more damage to them, which was something that I was really struggling with before. I felt like I was missing all the time. I was barely doing any damage. I'm just like, what am I not getting here? Another thing that became more clear to me was the difference between cantrips and prepared spells. Cantrips are something that you can just do over and over and over again, right? And you have a certain amount of them that you can do. Sometimes you get different cantrips from weapons, and prepared spells are ones that you can choose from, and then you have them prepared so that when you go out and you adventure, these are the ones that you can use, but you can only use them a certain amount of times. And then all of those level up, and you can have different level prepared spells. Some of them are just completely new, and some of them are just increased damage or protection of this version that's like the level 1 prepared spell. You can just, you know, upgrade a spell. And you can change these up. You can go back to camp and you can kind of respec your character a bit, which is really helpful, especially for when I started getting this epiphany and I started to realize I had some spells that maybe increased my AC or did something like gave other characters blindness, which would give them disadvantage, which is great. I started to see the utility of different things that I just kind of didn't really quite understand before. Also, one thing that I think Baldur's Gate does really great is the passive checks. So you can just be walking and you'll have like a passive check that happens. And like, I understood what was happening there, but being, you know, a DM myself and being the one that has to make those calls, like when someone comes into a room, making them roll for perception when they're looking around or those different types of things, I just had like a new appreciation having certain types of people in my party to be able to do things like prevent surprises, because I can have characters that have really high perception and I can prevent being attacked by surprise because of that. And again, it just kind of gave me more holistic understanding of the character creation when you're trying to decide, you know, if you're going to have a survival skill, an arcana skill, like these different types of skills that can give you advantages when you're in different parts of maps, if you're in dungeons or if you're outside, and then having that inform my party's composition more so that I can just try to maximize the amount of things that I'm, you know, noticing and being able to pass checks for. And I finally feel like I'm at a place now where I'm getting to enjoy the game as much as other people were enjoying it when the game came out. Because when the game came out, people were just talking about how it was such a great game and they loved it. And I could see that. I agreed. I liked it, but I was like, I don't feel like I'm getting the same amount of enjoyment as others are, because I just don't exactly know all of the mechanics of the game. And even though maybe I still don't know everything, I know enough now, and I just have to say there's something really special about Baldur's Gate 3 and D&D in general. I mean, even though I've played hundreds of other RPGs, there's something unique about the creativity and freedom of choice that comes with D&D. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is just the amount of choice that they give you. Like, I appreciated this off the bat, but having some reference in my own life where I've had, you know, the party that I've been playing with, you know, trying to be diplomatic and get through something without having a fight, and then something messes up and they roll like a critical miss, and then it just chaos happens and they have to fight it all out. Like, I just had a new appreciation for when that type of stuff was being represented in the game, because I just thought they did a very good job of capturing some of that feeling that you have at the D&D table. So yeah, I don't know if I rated Baldur's Gate 3 before. I think I did. I mean, and I rated it like well because I could see it all there, but now I just have another level of appreciation for it. So I wanted to just make this video because maybe this will help somebody else maybe return to the game if they didn't connect all of those dots like I didn't. And like I said, maybe you already know all this stuff and it's just interesting and fun for you to listen to somebody think through and talk through it. So let me know in the comments, you know, do you like D&D? Do you like Baldur's Gate? Did you maybe, and be honest, you know, did you maybe not understand everything? And maybe there's still things you don't understand. Maybe people can help you out in the comments. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. You know, like, subscribe, all that YouTube junk. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.